English 9, it's Miss Sopiarz-Rianda. You can have a big sigh of relief. You have turned in your final draft of your definition essay, and we are starting a brand new unit. As you know, I love a brand new unit. And the good news is, in addition to a brand new unit, you still have the opportunity to submit all late work after spring break, which is at the end of this week. So I'm giving you the courtesy of the entire spring break to get caught up on any late work from Unit 6. So if your grade is not where you want it to be, take advantage with the fact that Schoology is up and running and submit that late work for up to 85% credit. So this week, we are starting a new unit, Romeo and Juliet. You can see our unit layout right there, and you can see session 1 is due before spring break, the Sunday before spring break. Now, remember, this can all be done and should be all be done Monday through Friday, right? But do submit it before spring break, or otherwise it will be late. I will make session 2 available to you during spring break. For those of you that want to work ahead, you can do that. So let's get started here. And this week is, like I mentioned, new week, new unit, and we are going to be reading Romeo and Juliet, Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Now, there's a reason why almost all 9th graders in this country read Romeo and Juliet, and I'm not going to tell you why. You, as you are reading, think about that. Why are we reading this? Why is this still relevant? And so there's a reason for that. So this is a really one of Shakespeare's wonderful tragedies. And so this week we're going to begin the session with a pre-reading discussion, and then you're going to be doing a web quest inquiry study about the play Shakespeare and Elizabethan times. And then finally you're going to end the session with reading the prologue and Act 1. And I am providing you that document. We are reading an abridged version of Romeo and Juliet, and I am giving that to you in this session. So be sure to click next as we navigate through the session. And these are the essential questions that are really going to be guiding our work in this session. And the first thing that you are going to be reading about is genre. Now, we've talked a lot about genre in writing, right? We just finished a extended definition essay, a genre of extended definition, but there's also genres in literature, drama, poetry, prose, fiction, and nonfiction. And we are reading a play which falls under the umbrella of a drama. So please read through this information and learn more about all the different genres of literature. And as we are reading this classic, what I want you to think about is how are these genres similar and different? And why are they different? How are plays different from other literary genres that we have read or that you have read? Then here are some reading tips for a Shakespearean play. There's no doubt that reading a Shakespearean play can be challenging, but it is well worth it. It's not easy, and that's good. We don't want everything to be easy, right? So with hard work comes the reward, and that's what is so true about Shakespeare. So click here and read some tips about how to read Shakespeare and Romeo and Juliet, and then follow these strategies as we learn, and you will learn to love Shakespeare, I promise. So we're going to start our session this week with a pre-reading discussion. So go ahead and read through those questions. You need to answer, here there are 5 questions here. What I'd like for you to do is answer 3 of them and then post twice to the discussion for full credit. After our discussion, you are going to begin the Romeo and Juliet web quest. So it's important, like I mentioned, that we learn a little bit more background information about Shakespeare, Elizabethan England, and just become familiar with Romeo and Juliet and the cast of characters. Although the tale of these two star-crossed lovers is one that's still relevant to us today, it's important to develop a really solid foundation as we're reading, okay? So you're going to click Next, and you're going to go to the Romeo and Juliet Web Quest folder, and then begin with the web page task. So you can see, so if I click back onto this session, you can see that there is a folder right after the introduction. That's where the web quest is, in that folder. So you would go through each one of these pages in order to find all the information, the actual document that you're going to be filling out, as well as all the websites that you're going to be visiting and reading to learn all of the great information. Okay, so be sure that you go to that folder and again click Next in the upper right hand corner. That's how you navigate through that web quest. Here is where you submit your web quest. It is worth 100 points, so be sure that you definitely take that assignment seriously, because it is a lot of reading. And then after you submit your web quest, we are going to begin the reading process for the first act and prologue of Romeo and Juliet. So now that you have some background information from the web quest, it's time to begin reading. As you're going to learn in this session, one of the ways to read Shakespeare is to read a brief summary of the text to help you with your comprehension. So go ahead and click on this link to watch a 2-minute summary of the entire play, which is awesome, and then read a brief summary of Act 1. And then you can click Next to start reading. And as you are reading, think about why this guy's biting his thumb and what that means. It's very important in Act 1. So now, after watching the summary of Romeo and Juliet and reading the summary of Act 1, you're ready to start reading. I would recommend printing this out and marking it up with your notes, because it really helps. Here is the Romeo and Juliet text that we will be reading, and if you open it, you can see that if you don't print it out, it might be a little confusing to read online. It is for me anyway. So it begins, you start, obviously, as you read, you start on the left, make your way down, and come back up the second column from left to right, correct? Well, it can be kind of confusing if you don't print it out, because there's no page numbers on this text. So it can be a little confusing. So again, I highly recommend printing it out. So once you read the prologue and Act 1, if after you read you feel this way, gosh, I didn't understand that at all, what just happened, Miss Sopiarz-Rianda, click here, go through the cards, go through the test, and place scatter, and that will help you. If you feel, however, I'm confident, I understand what's going on in Verona, and it's not going to end well, click here and take a quiz. Don't worry, it's not going to be recorded, it's just for your benefit. And then after you've completed one or two, or both if you are zealous, go back and reread the prologue and Act 1 again. Remember, that's another reading tip, okay? To fully understand what's going on. And then after you have read and reread, you are done for the week, okay? And we've had a busy one. So be sure that you can answer the affirmative in these statements, and you can answer these questions. If you can, awesome. You're ready for session 2, which we're going to be reading Act 2. If not, go back and maybe read Act 1 a third time, or contact me and I'm happy to help. If you have any questions this week, please let me know. Thanks, everybody.